are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked on Cowboys.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. And joining me today, as always, is Landon McCool. You can check him out on Twitter at McCoolBCB. You can also listen to him on the Best Coast Boys podcast. Landon, what's going on, sir?
Not much. Feeling a little bit better. Dealing with some sickness, but we're pushing through, just like Dak Prescott and his famous calf. So I'm here and reporting for duty, ready to answer some questions.
We got some really good questions for you today. And this first one is actually just tailored right to you. One from Justin, Landon. How difficult is it to maintain a straight face while doing the crossover podcast with other NFC East podcasters, given how little chance they gave us in the preseason pods?
It was not easy. Look, I mean, I think that's the thing about the crossover pods is so great is that, not only are you getting, local experts on these teams, but we're fans. I mean, look, I'm unabashedly a huge fan of the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm unabashedly going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Bullish on them.
Yeah, sure.
And I think that obviously applies to the folks that are covering those other respective teams. However, the phrase I kept on thinking, constantly, and look, like I said, those guys are experts at what they do, and they're really great football folks. They know a lot about football as well. The thing I kept on thinking was not that they didn't realize what was going on, but more that they were, and the phrase that I keep using is whistling past the graveyard. Yeah. Right. It's like I'm not afraid of the Cowboys. No, Dak's going to be hurt and they'll never get him back fully healthy, because if they did, that would be horrible. It was that kind of thing, And so
it's kind of like my niece when she comes over to see my dog. She's like, "No, I'm not afraid of the dog, not at all." Yeah, and then she gets there and, oh crap.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of soothing. So you don't have to face the ugly reality that maybe the Cowboys are actually pretty decent this year. And look, as Cowboys fans, we can't ignore the idea that there have been, not quite to Philly levels, but there have been previous years where we've been super excited about our teams in the offseason, only to have it kind of fall apart in the regular season.
Yes.
So
I think the difference for this Cowboys team is this year. Yes, Dallas is playing really well. They're 5-1. They're one of the best teams in the league, but it really has to show more about the rest of the teams in the division, right?
That's part of it, sure.
Good, right? I mean, if Dallas was 3-3 at this point or whatever, I think we'd be having different conversations. But the other three teams are just so bad, and their wins. I mean, a couple of them have just come against each other. Other than that, Jesus, teams are bad. So.
Well, I mean, again, to their credit, I think everybody thought, just based on our conversations, thought that the NFC East was not going to necessarily be the best division. I think that the idea was that their idea was that whoever was going to win it ugly, which, I just kind of took offense to the idea that they were pulling our team in, lumping our team in with the rest of their teams.
Yeah.
But, like I said, look. We're the most hated team in the NFC East amongst the other NFC East teams. I mean, I know, and look, I get it. It's kind of like the Yankees thing. It's just no one likes the popular brand, or obviously the popular fans, but everyone else who doesn't like the popular brand hates the popular brand, right? So I get it, but I think that was my thought. It wasn't so much keeping a straight face as much as just being like, oh, come on, guys, that's not what's going on.
I mean, and we kind of knew this. I think a lot of the people in the NFC East were banking on maybe Dak not being healthy, maybe the shoulder bothering him, maybe the ankle, being in his head. And that just hasn't been the case at all. And they've dominated, right? So I can see where some of the preseason concerns were valid. But once we got to week one it was pretty quickly we found out that just none of them are true. So
No.
let's maybe stop buying into some preseason narratives as much every single year, right?
Yeah,
It's probably
let's try.
All
Yeah.
right, we got a really good question coming up next, Landon. But before we get to it, I want to tell you guys about Get Upside. Hey, Cowboy fans, this is Marcus Mosher with Landon McCool with an incredible app everyone who buys gas needs to know about. It's Get Upside. My listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every single time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now. Use promo code Touchdown and get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or e-gift card. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code Touchdown to get up to 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. That is promo code Touchdown. All right, Landon, this is a really good question by Zach that I actually thought about a lot this morning. So he wants to know, which player will boost the Cowboys offense more coming back, Lyle Collins or Michael Gallup?
It's just the old Sewell versus Chase argument.
I think in a vacuum, more often than not, having a Pro Bowl tackle is going to help more than a number 2 or number 3 receiver, right? And I do think with Collins in the lineup, you can do a lot more things with just a 5-man protection or just a 6-man protection with Zeke in the backfield, right? Like you can have a longer developing routes. You can have more guys out in routes. I do think that helps, right? But with Michael Gallup out there, he gives you somebody who can stretch the field. And almost more importantly, he gives you another outside receiver, which allows CeeDee Lamb to go back in the slot. And when you have a slot receiver that can get vertical, that's when your offense can really take off. So I'm a little torn here.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I think that both of them seemingly help or at least are going to make additions to similar type of things. I think you nailed it. I think the difference between Terrence Steele and La'el Collins to me is not so much. There's not a huge difference, I would imagine, in all the run game stuff. I think we saw Steele perform pretty well as a right tackle in the run game, and was able to move bodies and stuff. I think you'll get some better work there with La'el Collins. But I think the biggest difference is going to be in what you said, the 5-man protection schemes, the ability to kind of leave La'el out there without help, and then being able to deploy another receiver out into route. And then ultimately, I think you're going to get similar gains from Michael Gallup, right? Is in the fact that you're going to be able to pass the football a lot better with Gallup in the game for the reasons you described, and also just in general having more talent at the wide receiver position on the field. The matchups are going to be better. The opportunity for more disadvantage in the down roster matchups, meaning so like now that you've got Gallup in here, whoever their third cornerback is going to be working against, one of Gallup, Cooper, and Lamb. So that's going to be a huge increased advantage for the Cowboys as well. To kind of parse that, like to determine who is going to have more of an impact on this offense and help here and there, I think that's difficult. I think for the Cowboys, it probably is. It probably is La'el Collins is probably going to be a little bit of addition just because of what we talked about. Gallup is technically your third receiver. Listen, I think he's going to have a market improvement. It's going to have a market improvement in the pass game. But I also think that, when you talk about the fact that La'el Collins is going to be on every snap, even though the advantage that he's giving you in the run game is small versus Steele, it's something. And I think the loss of Gallup was very well mitigated by the way Cedric Wilson performed, and also, being able to use and be successful in 2 tight end formations, which I think, helped kind of let the Cowboys shift gears. I think in a vacuum, maybe you have a little bit more of an argument. I think the problem is the Cowboys are so talented with talent skill guys that they were able to kind of shuffle things around and really not miss a beat without Gallup.
Well, and we said this at the time of the injury for Michael Gallup, right? They can survive one wide receiver injury, right? Because they have 2 tight ends, they have 2 running backs, they already have 2 receivers they really like. The problem was if they lost another guy, and they didn't, so they're okay. Luckily for the Cowboys, they don't have to choose, right, Landon? They're
That's right.
likely going to get both of these guys back this week, if not the following week. I think the other benefits of having Gallup back are you don't have to play Amari Cooper as many snaps as what he is, right? Like, it's pretty clear that Amari's beat up. And I don't know if he's ever going to be 100%, but if you can kind of limit his snaps, even by, I don't know, 7 snaps a game, by having Michael Gallup, by having Cedric Wilson play some more snaps, I think that's going to be beneficial long term. And also having Gallup out there will, take some snaps off Jarwin, take some snaps off Schultz. It's just better for the offense all the way around once he returns to the lineup. So
yeah, it just reduces snaps all around for the skill players. Like you just said, it allows you in situations where they want to play 12 personnel to not have to put Cooper out there, and to give him some snaps off while doing that, because you still feel very comfortable about having Lamb and Gallup out there.
All right, let's get to the next question. This one from @arguing_Cowboys. What is your biggest cause for concern as the season goes on? For me, it's just injuries, right?
Yeah,
Dak is already
staying healthy.
Yeah, Dak is already a little beat up with a calf injury. He had the foot surgery a year ago. He's got the shoulder thing. We don't know how he's progressing, but that's obviously a concern. You do have some guys that are nicked up: Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper, Trevon Diggs a little bit. Randy Gregory has a knee issue. You just hope that those things don't get worse as we get into November and December.
Yeah, I think injuries. You look at the schedule. It's not it's not something to be terribly scared of. The Cowboys should be able to take care of business with the teams that are on their schedule. It's getting in their own way. It's injuries. Those are the things that you are concerned about at this point, which is a good spot to be in. I think that the fact that you don't necessarily have to worry about a talent disparity with too many of the teams left on your schedule, it puts it all in front of you to kind of just go out there and perform and do your best. And hopefully that should be enough to win a lot of these football games.
So a couple of people have asked, because the Cowboys schedule is so soft the rest of the way, and because the NFC East is bad, why not just give Dak Prescott another week to heal up from this calf injury and not make it worse? Why not just give him some time off?
I don't think you do it against an NFC opponent.
Okay.
I think, look, there's those 5 teams that are all vying for that number 1 seed. It's going to be a race to the finish. And if you want that advantage that those first 2 teams get, you can't
especially
really
one team.
Well, especially a one team. Yeah. You can't really take your foot off the gas, so especially against, again, an NFC opponent, because those games matter more in tie-breaking scenarios near the end of the season than the AFC game. So if you're going to do something like that, it would have been better to have done it. He wasn't hurt for the Patriots until the end of the Patriots game, but the Patriots game probably would have been a better game as an example. I think the Denver game might be one to consider.
Do you know why you also don't do it though right now? Because good luck telling Dak Prescott you're sitting out a national TV game.
Well, just good luck telling Dak Prescott you're sitting out. Really, it's like and again, I think that we should consider again the idea that you taking your foot off the gas is not a good thing, and that resting guys has benefits, but there is also negatives to it as well. So
I also think we should be careful about the difference between injured guys and hurt guys, right? Yeah. Because guys that are injured and just can't play, I get resting them and making sure they're fully back. Like DeMarcus Lawrence and Neville Gallimore, those guys are already out. When they come back, you want them to be 100% ready to go, not thinking about an injury. Guys that are hurt and not necessarily in danger of missing games, you don't really want to sit, because that's when you get into some of the bad habits of, hey, it's not that important. I just want to sit out and not play. I don't know. I think some bad things can happen when you start doing that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think that there's a rhythm that you can get into by practicing and playing every week. And when you don't do that, you get out of the rhythm. And sometimes it doesn't just come back right away. You need a little bit of time to kind of work into it. And that little bit of time that it takes for you to kind of work back into the rhythm, I mean, that could be the time that you're needed the most. So it's just, it could be a little bit perilous. And we've seen it before where teams that have, gone into bye weeks or taken time off struggle to kind of get back up to speed when they need it, when they need to.
I also don't think you want to develop that culture of, hey, I'm a little banged up, I'm not playing this week. Because that happens a lot around the NFL. And I'm not saying that guys that are clearly injured and compromised should be forced to go play, but there is some mental toughness that a team needs to have. And I do think it's good for teams to kind of fight through that, right? Does that make sense?
It certainly is good for teams to feel like they should fight for each other. And that includes, hey, I can't miss time because my team needs me. That kind of mentality is a championship level team kind of mentality.
I'll give you a perfect example. Ezekiel Elliott could have easily sat out last week's game against the Patriots, right? Like he was hurting. Like after falling on that pylon, he was talking about how sore he was, but he played. And he actually played pretty well against New England. And I think he made a big difference, especially in some of the blitz pickups, right? He was hurt, but he went out there and battled and helped the team get to a win. I think that means a lot to a team.
I agree. Running backs matter.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm still sick a little bit.
All right. Next question. This one comes from Matt. He wants to know, we kind of talked about this yesterday, but does it worry you that 6 of the first 15 picks in the first round currently belong to the NFC East?
No, because I see what the quarterback list is for next year.
I was going
to
say, no, it doesn't worry me because they need them, right?
Yeah. Well, they definitely need them. Yeah. And they probably aren't going to be able to draft what they need with them, to be honest. So, I don't worry about draft stuff until we're playing for a championship. We'll talk about the draft after the season, as far as I'm concerned.
By the way, just really quickly, I looked at 3 different big boards this morning, one from Mel Kiper, one from the Draft Network, and one from Bleacher Report. They all had 3 different quarterbacks ranked at number 1, and none of them had them inside their top 20 players. So there you go.
Yay.
Good luck. All right, let's take a quick break so I can tell you guys about Bet Online. We are back and better than ever with a new web interface for the start of the basketball season and even more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number 1 spot for all the pro and college football action this season. Head to our new updated desktop or mobile site to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, baseball, postseason, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. We also want to tell you guys about Built Bar. You know Built Bar. It's the best tasting protein bar out there. It's real chocolate with amazing flavors. It's just a great combination of low calories, high protein, and low sugar with no crazy additives. Best of all, they taste fantastic. Go to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCK15 and you will get 15% off your first box at BuiltBar.com. All right, Landon, let's get to some more questions. A couple people asked this one as well. Who plays more snaps this year, Nahshon Wright or Kelvin Joseph?
Nahshon's got a little bit of a head start so far,
He does have
right?
a head start, yep.
I don't know what his count is right now. It's not very high. I looked at it not too long
50?
ago. I would imagine it's mostly all special teams. I only think he's played like 4 or 5 snaps.
I'm assuming they mean on defense, right?
Yeah, and if you mean on defense, I would not be surprised if Joseph caught up. Just maybe in the sense that he start working him in. It's going to be interesting to see what his plan is, right? Because it's going to be interesting to see where he is coming off of the injury and his development as just an NFL player. It's going to be interesting to see exactly the methodology that they fold him in. Are they going to be kind of kicking him into Anthony Brown's spot and then kicking Anthony Brown inside? Are they going to be kind of playing him both inside and out? So I think, there's lots of interesting questions here. I have to imagine that since Joseph is the more highly touted player, the more high pedigree player, and the fact that he can, seemingly play both inside and outside, I think that means that, yeah, he will probably end the season with more snaps, because I do think that on top of that, he also is going to be a special teams player. They are going to fold him into the special teams as well. So I imagine he'll catch up in that realm, and then probably, be playing at least twice as many defensive snaps once he kind of gets into the rhythm of things.
I think the Cowboys are going to want to see what Joseph has, especially later in the year. And let's say the Cowboys do have the division locked up. Let's say by week 15, which I don't know why it would take that long, but just to say, I think they're going to want to use the last 2 or 3 games to really see what they have. I think Diggs will start and play, but they'll probably be careful about his snaps, and we'll see more of Joseph. So I do think we're going to see more of that. All right, go ahead.
I was just going to say the last thing, the one spot where I do think, we just talked about not taking your foot off the gas, maybe being careful about kind of subbing players. The one spot where I think you could really get away with that is the defense, because you can it's a lot easier to rotate in these guys kind of in piecemeal, right? So I do look out for that as the season goes on. Not that they take their foot off the gas, but they're not afraid to maybe substitute in some younger players for some of their more established players, just to start getting them snaps and getting them experience, because they might need them in the playoffs.
Next question from Chris. What, if anything, can we expect from the return of Tristan Hill? Nobody's been talking about him at all, but he was a second rounder. It does seem like he's going to practice this week at some point, which opens up this window for him to potentially get on the field. What are your thoughts?
Look, I mean, I'm sure your birdies have got their own takes on this, but I've spoken to whatever birdies I've got, and basically, despite whatever Quinn talk has been going on, with just mentioning him and that he's coming back, I don't know that they have any expectations for Hill. I mean, I think they want him to come in and then see what they've got in him, but I don't know that anybody on the coaching staff, at least, is anticipating his return, is I guess the best way to put it, right? I think if they get anything out of Tristan Hill, it will be gravy for them. I don't know that they are expecting him to come in and immediately play for playing time and or competition. I think that's mostly just us based on some things we saw last year, anticipating that he's going to get better. We'll see. I think he has some talent. He's clearly an explosive player for his size, but I think there's a reason that this team is not exactly chomping at the bit to have him on the field. I think that they are slow playing him for a reason. I have a feeling that if he wasn't just a recent second round pick,
he'd be gone.
He may not be on the team anymore.
Yeah, I'm gonna use an example from our sponsor at McDonald's, right? Like, sometimes when you're done at McDonald's, you have the bag and you're just throwing it away, and you just do like one more grab at the bag to see if a random French fry just got loose in there. And sometimes you don't, you just throw the bag away and it's no big deal. But sometimes there's one perfect fry left at the bottom, and you're like, oh, look, an awesome fry. Isn't that cool? I didn't even expect that. I kind of think that's the
bag fry. Spot. Is that what you're comparing him to?
Yeah, I just kind of think that's the Tristan Hill situation, right? Like, hey, if it doesn't work out, it's no big deal. But hey, if it is something down there, we'll take it.
That's funny because my wife claims all the bag fries. That's like her. That's her.
Okay.
Her realm.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that's a good analogy. Is that I think for the Cowboys, they're on the hook with this guy, and so they know that they pay his salary because he's a high draft pick, and so they don't have. It's not like they have like this incredible depth at defensive tackle that is going to get in his way. So if he shows up and he plays incredible and he's shown development and all those things, fantastic. Get on the field. Let's go, buddy. You're part of the team. If he hasn't, they're also not going to continue to coddle and try to give him more and more opportunities. Look, I believe in Tristan Hill. I've seen flashes of it at times.
Right before he got hurt, he was playing well. Yep.
I thought so too. And so I want to believe that he's going to be able to come in here and make an impact. But I don't think they're not going to view it through rose-colored glasses. They're not going to give him any extra opportunities here. This coaching staff doesn't have any ties here. So anything that he's coming in here to do, he's going to have to earn, completely on his own. There's no more, rabbis or whatever the term is that you want to call people that are in there. Sponsors. Yeah. There's no one in there protecting him anymore. So except for maybe the front office, but I honestly, I don't know that. I think that has even run its course to a large degree.
Yeah. Cause I don't even know if this front office was all that thrilled when they drafted him, right? It was pretty clearly a Rod Marinelli pick, right? And the front office structure has changed. The head coach has changed. The defensive coordinator has changed. The defensive line coach has changed. So who knows? All right, last one. And this is just a really quick. We don't want to spend a lot of time, but who would you rather trade for, Melvin Ingram or Kyle Fuller? We're going to do a big trade show, maybe this week, maybe next week. But which guy would you rather trade for if you're the Cowboys?
Fuller has actually been benched, hasn't he?
He's not played well. That's the thing. You're really taking a leap of faith that a change in system will help.
Yeah, I don't really know that. I think I'm more of an Ingram guy. I think normally I would say cornerback just because I think, you can play a bunch of those guys and coverage is so important. And you've got some guys that you feel like that are coming back that are going to give you some injection into the pass rush. But I think that if you're looking at where the players are, and you as the Pittsburgh Steelers fan can tell me better than anybody where Melvin Ingram is at this point. But I know, he wasn't getting a ton of snaps, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that Pittsburgh has got some pretty decent pass rushers on their team. I mean, not that Denver doesn't have really good coverage corners too, but I just think that maybe Ingram is a guy that has a little bit more of a clear path as to how you will deploy him if you were to get him.
Yeah, so Ingram started the season playing like 55 snaps a game. And then TJ Watt kind of got healthy and Alex Highsmith got healthy, and he's seen his snaps kind of go down to like 35 a game. But in that role, he's still really good. And I actually think Pittsburgh's using him a little wrong because they'll just rush him off one side of the football. And if you know anything about Melvin Ingram's career in college and with the Chargers, he's somebody you want to move around and get mismatches on and have him line up one-on-one with the guard. So I don't know how the Cowboys feel about some of their other defensive ends on the roster like Bradley and Azur Kamara, where Dorrance Armstrong is at. But if they want to get somebody in here right now that can give them some pass rush and can also help stop the run, and basically make it so the Marcus Lawrence just has to show up for the playoffs, I think Ingram is a pretty good target. He's actually really cheap as well. I think the Cowboys would only be on the hook for like $1 million the rest of the year. That's the one I would target.
Yeah, it's a 1 year. He's on a 1 year deal too, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
Let him
so
go in free agency and maybe pick up a comp pick, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it makes sense.
That's the kind of move that Dallas should make. They made it a couple of years ago with Michael Bennett. Very similar type of deal. I think they traded, was it a 6th-round pick for Michael Bennett or something like that? And Bennett was actually pretty good for Dallas. I think they could do something like that to improve their depth without having to spend a big draft pick or a ton of cap space. So we'll continue to stockpile some names that the Cowboys might be interested ahead of the deadline because we assume they're going to be buyers or they might try to be buyers. So keep an eye out for that show. That is it for today's show, though. You guys can check us out on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter at Locked On Cowboys. You can follow Landon at McCool BCB. I'm at Marcus _Mosher, and we'll see you next time.